On-prem deployment or cloud deployment? Which one should we choose, or should we actually choose both? Find out next right here on IT Pro TV.
You're watching IT Pro TV.
That's right, it is a match for this particular decade. Do we choose on-prem deployment or in the cloud deployment? And here, of course, to referee us is going to be Anthony Sakara. Anthony, why should we choose, or why do we care?
Yeah, I know. Isn't it interesting that all of a sudden, relatively all of a sudden, we now have this other design decision, and that is, are we going to be putting stuff in the traditional on-prem environment, on-prem standing for on-premises? And someone once pointed out to me that on-prem sounds like a very small fruit, an exotic fruit, doesn't it? An on-prem? Anyways.
Sure. Why not?
Whatever,
yeah,
dude.
Whatever.
So think about this. Like, there are times when Ronnie and I were just looking at this. We were looking at some of the new wireless LAN controllers that Cisco offers, and you come across some of them and they'll end in C, their model number, and that is because they are fine-tuned to work in the cloud. There are a couple of different reasons you may want to turn to the cloud for your deployment of Cisco technology. Reason number one, you are mainly a cloud-based infrastructure. So if you're putting all your infrastructure these days into the cloud and you want to add like firepower security services from Cisco, next generation firewalls and intrusion prevention systems, you want a cloud-based copy because all your stuff is up there in the cloud. So that's the number one reason you might want to do this. But another really interesting, powerful reason you might want to do this is more and more we are interacting with the internet and cloud-based resources on a daily basis. So we may have already a high bandwidth VPN up to the cloud. Why not have some services located up there so we can take advantage of like the high availability, Ronnie, and the automated backups and all of the great cloud stuff. By parking the service up there, we can take advantage of everything that the cloud brings.
Now, Anthony, again, working with routers and switches, I kind of think maybe as a Cisco guy, I might be losing some of my contact with that. So I think that the on-prem is the way to go because I have full control of everything that I need right here. What do you think?
That is really true. And remember this, if you spend enough money with your cloud provider, you could have the level of control that you want. So don't forget that. Like, if you gave them enough money, you would be able to physically go visit that device. And that's pretty funny to think about. But I'm being dead serious. Like, we know by default, when we deploy to the cloud, we are doing a multi-tenancy environment by default. So let's say you have a virtual firewall that you purchased from Cisco and you put it up in AWS. By default, it's on a machine with other customers' stuff, but pay them enough and you can get your own machine.
Right.
Pay them enough and you'll get a specific machine, and they'll even send you the serial number so that you can, just know where your machine is and the ID on your machine, and it's like your hardware in the cloud. Again, you'll be paying more for that privilege. Let's do this. Let's see how easy it would be to deploy some of these new Cisco resources to the cloud. So what I've done is I've gone into a little free tier AWS account that I have access to, Ronnie, and I'm going to go into the EC2. This is their virtual machine service, if you will. And I'm going to go into my running instances, and I don't have any because this is, again, a little free tier account. Oh, I actually do have one. It's an Ansible host, and it's not running. Poor sad little thing. And it's going to get even more sad for this host. I'm going to go and terminate it right now. That's right. When you terminate, you delete. Gone. Yep. So anyways, I'm going to launch an instance. And the instance that I'm going to launch is going to be from the AWS Marketplace. And look at all of these different things that are featured in here. So all of these, what used to be physical appliances, are now being implemented as cloud-based virtual appliances. And this is so exciting for us because we can spin them up and practice with them. If I do a search on Cisco, we have 36 different products. This list is growing all the time of devices that we can spin up in the cloud. Here's an adaptive security virtual appliance, an ASAV standard package. If you select this, you see that if you were to spin it up on an M4 large instance, which looks like to me is the lowest tier that you could use of hardware, it's going to cost you 69 cents an hour for the software from Cisco, and it's going to cost you 10 cents an hour for a total of 79 cents an hour for this ASAV. Not too expensive at all, especially if you're going to be turning this device on and off during maybe downtimes as you're experimenting, or if you're in a practice lab, you would just be practicing with it and then immediately turning it off. So notice we are going to be able to deploy these devices right out of the marketplace into our cloud infrastructure. And Ronnie, when we get into the more sophisticated devices, like here's the Cisco Firepower Management Center. So here is the management center to manage our next generation firewalls. What's going to be critical, notice there's no cost for the software, but what's going to be critical here is that you follow the documentation to deploy it properly. And they will link to that in here. For instance, here is the usage guidelines. And if I click on this, it's going to bring me into the documentation. And right here, it's going to say, deploy the Firepower Management Center virtual on the AWS cloud. That would be the link right there that I would be interested in. And it is going to walk us through how to get this properly implemented into AWS. They will walk you through each step that you have to do in AWS. But understand, if you were really going to do this, I'd want you to come to IT Pro TV, and I'd want you to take at least our cloud practitioner or entry-level AWS training, because it scares me to think that you're just following the directions of the AWS setup you need to do and not having a clue about what you're doing there. Because what happens is if you have to troubleshoot it, you're not going to have much luck because you don't know what any of that AWS stuff is that you had to manipulate. So please consider, if you're going to be doing cloud-based deployments a lot of the time, consider the very basic levels of training on that cloud.
Yeah, there's no doubt that there are benefits, of course, to having some of your own equipment, but this is the ease of deployment in the cloud, I think, after following those directions, since they have such nice documentation, is probably one of the biggest benefits that we can actually have. Instead of just getting a piece of equipment like a Cisco ASA and saying, well, here you go, have fun figuring it out.
A lot of times too, Ronnie, one point I wanted to make is that, when we want to practice, a lot of times this is a great way to practice because Cisco will give you a 90-day eval for the virtual software. So think about that. It's like they just shipped you this really expensive piece of equipment and said, enjoy it for 90 days and ship it back. That's basically what's happening here. So it's a very exciting way to get practice with their latest generation of technologies up in the cloud.
All right. Well, thank you for at least helping us to understand that there are decisions that may need to be made during design, and here understanding that whether your environment has to do with as much money as you can actually throw at it, you can get everything that you want, or if you're actually using something like AWS, make sure you read the documentation as well. But the on-prem, pretty much the standard way that we think about doing things, right? We deploy the device, we add power to it, we cable it up, and we, of course, begin to configure it. But all that depends on what you actually need. Well, this is a great place for us to end in terms of this episode. So signing off for IT Pro TV, I'm your host, Ronnie Wong.
And I'm Anthony Sequeira.
Stay tuned right here for more of your CCNP Encore show.
Thank you for watching IT Pro TV.